I've got so many things to say in this review. A lot of negatives. A lot of negatives from a lot of players in the field today. Some poor tactical decisions as well too. But to start with things, you guys know me, I have to keep things honest and real. It's not very often I've seen a team thoroughly outclass and outplay us. And when I'm seeing certain statistics in this game where Leeds have like an extra 10 to 11 kilometers compared to us run in this game, that's a type of application and that's a type of performance where I have to show some respects for thoroughly outclassing us. Because today, you guys, this was shambolic. This was terrible. Some terrible performances from so many players in the field today. And I have to say as well too, tactically as well too, things weren't on point. Things did not help us. The most important thing I think we all saw in that first half together was our midfield getting overrun. The lack of power, the lack of physicality from Jorginho and Gallagher together. I'll speak about these guys in more detail as the review goes on. But you guys, this felt like a reality check. Yeah, we got money to spend. You know, we're signing players, we're offering 200 bags here, 300 bags there, 400 bags there. By the end of this window, we could have spent around £500 million. That is a stupid amount of money. But the reality is, even spending £500 million, how much closer are we to achieving the goals of mounting a title challenge versus Liverpool and Man City? And this game exposed that because our consistent weakness has been over the past 18 to 24 months. Consistently picking up points against your Leeds Uniteds, your Wolves, teams around this mid-table rank where at this level, every team is good enough to raise their game in one day and outperform you if you don't raise your game back. And today, we couldn't do nada. We got thoroughly beaten. And honestly, it really was such a downer to my weekend. But last night for me went so spectacularly. Yeah, it completely killed my vibe right now. It's absolutely mad. But regardless, let's break down the game in further detail and let's focus on some of the big negatives for me. You know, I can talk about performances from Kai Havertz, who's a bit non-existent at times. I can talk about other guys, but I want to focus on the main players for me that played big parts in the failure we saw today. And to start with, I want to talk about Conor Gallagher. Now, you guys, I'm a very simple man. What I see in front of me, I have to critique. Not hate, but critique. But at the same time, I'm not going to just fully critique to such a point where I start to hate on a guy. I'm not about that. You guys know I'm a lot more cerebral than that. And for me, let's be serious, Gallagher struggles. A few of us had some doubts about whether he can really play his best football playing as a pivot. And I think today, when he's partnered alongside Jorginho, and it's not the first time we've seen this midfield partnership. We saw this against Arsenal in the pre-season game and they got absolutely run in midfield. The same thing happened today. You're thinking to yourself, and maybe is this hindsight? Potentially, who knows? But you're thinking to yourself, could we not have done something to offer more protection to that midfield? There was no physicality there. I'm seeing Gallagher bouncing off tackles like it's pinball. Jorginho, slow off the mark. Not enough power to win those duels. And Leeds dominated us in particular in midfield today. They won those tackles. They won the midfield battle. And I just think the midfield today, even though they were very poor, they weren't necessarily helped as well too. But today, Gallagher definitely learned a lesson in terms of, you know, the improvements he has to make, of course, which he will make. There's a lot more to come from the player. Let's not get too angry right now. We're going to completely write off a guy that just made his first proper day before us in different circumstances. Because ideally, you're not going to partner Gallagher against Jorginho in games like this. And you know why, for very good reason. But still, at times, some of the passing decisions were a bit slow. I felt maybe the defending. I think maybe sometimes he overcommits at times, where sometimes you just have to be a bit more tactile. You know, funnel your man into certain less dangerous positions. Don't always be quick to slide in for tackles to lose your position, because at this level, teams will play around you. He's player at this level. He was sick for Palace last season, and there's more to come from the player. But the reality is today, he wasn't good today, alongside George too. And for that, he has to get criticism because we keep things fair. But I think a few other players, of course, also have to be definitely looked at after their performances. And I'm actually going to start differently. I'll get on to Mendy soon, you guys, don't watch. But I think for me, there's one thing I saw in the last game versus Spurs on that left-hand side between Koulibaly and Cucurella. And against Spurs, there was one moment in particular where Harry Kane was clean on sides. He played the offside trap really well and had a 1v1 opportunity which he missed the target. I was seeing signs against Spurs last week of that lack of communication at the back, which is very important, that communication factor. The distances between Koulibaly and Cucurella at times is a bit too big. They're not fully on point. And I think I can see the comparison now between Rudiger and Chilwell compared to this new left-hand side. Naturally, they'll need more time to understand each other's game. You need time at this level, man. It's not a video game. We need to remember that. But one of the excellent things about Rudiger and Chilwell was the relationship they used to have. How tight they used to get. How they used to double up and support each other at the right times. And the positioning of these guys. We need to see massive improvements from Cucurella and Koulibaly in particular. Because today, these men got exposed. And Koulibaly getting a red card for 2 ridiculous yellow cards. Listen, we saw that he's the type of defender where he will overcommit. If he loses his duel, he will foul you and stop you. This ain't Serie A. You have to think a bit quicker and a bit faster. And so far, he is showing that he's still adjusting to a new league and a new way of playing in that sense as well too. But I have to say, I thought Koulibaly was also very poor today. And it's in the details. It's not just about some of the tackles and fouls he gave away, but it was positioning. And I think for that third goal in particular, his positioning was all over the place. Had no idea where to be at the time, and it was a very cheap and easy goal to give away. And that wasn't the first time. Some of his positioning and keeping that line together, he's too further forward at times, or he drops deeper, or he's a bit lost. And I feel like this is where you want to see that communication, and this is what Rudiger brought last season. This guy was marshalling, man. He was telling man where to be, where to go. He had that position pattern on point on that left-hand side. So I think it's a very interesting combination, because I thought Kuli was very poor today. And I thought Cucurella was very poor as well too. Some of the opportunities, the shots not hitting the target, you're thinking, wow, at this level for the money we've paid as well too, you're expecting bare minimum of these chances hitting the target at least. And that didn't come. At times he got dispossessed a bit too easily. And I think this is where credit goes to Leeds United for winning that tactical battle, because they stopped the wing-backs, and especially that left-hand side. They really stopped Cucurella doing a lot of good stuff down the area. And a lot of times we're trying to double up and overload out wides. Leeds United just did it better than us today, and this is why I have to give credit. I have to, because they put in a top performance against us. But of course, I think to end things with a final disappointment, it has to be Edouard Mendy. That's a bit of a shame, because really, it comes down to one incredible moment of stupidity in that sense. He was showing nice footwork before, but in that moment, I don't know what he was thinking right then. He knew, clear that ball straight. It wasn't the time to play out. Even if you beat the press, who was your passing option? If you guys see the replay, where's the passing option? You're just clearing the ball anyway. You overplayed, and against Leeds, that's when we lost the game. Because in the first 20 minutes, we had a few chances. The game was a bit open. It's more of like a midfield battle in that sense. And then after that, for the final 25 minutes of the first half, after that mistake from Mendy, that set the precedent for how poor we played since. And it gave the tactical advantage to Leeds United to play their game and force us to have to change our game. And I'll get onto that later on in this review, guys. But after that, then conceding a cheap set piece as well too from a team that's not even blessed with many like 6-foot+ players. That is terrible in my opinion. And essentially, we lost the game in the space of like 5 minutes during the early parts of the first half, and the game was essentially over. Now, let's end things with the second half, boys. Tuchel had to make a change. And the main thing he had to do for me was bring some physicality to the midfield. So I thought he did the right change in the second half by moving to a back four and having Ruben playing more midfield. Now, it's a bit of a shame that due to the profile Tuchel looks at, he doesn't really allow Ruben to really play without the shackles. You know, you're seeing maybe Gallagher getting forward more compared to Ruben, and you're probably thinking Ruben does it a bit better because he's a better player. Let's keep it honest, even though Gallagher has a lot of potential. But at least we were able to at least commit a few more men forwards. We were able to at least pin Leeds back a little bit more. We had some chances, players terrible, missing the target, not getting their shots on. But at least we were able to pin back Leeds a little bit. And now looking back, and I'm admitting this, looking back now, I think the mistake Tuchel made was maybe forcing it a little bit, even though I understood why he had to. I mean, to bring on Pulisic and Ziyech, that's a lot of attacking players they're bringing on. You know, taking off Jorginho and taking off Gallagher. There was a midfield of like, what was the formation? Was it like a 4-2-3-1 at the time or like a 4-1-3-2? I was seeing Ziyech playing free role behind the striker. I was seeing Pulisic on the right wing as well too. I was seeing a lot of different crazy things in my opinion. And in that moment in particular, that's when Leeds came back again, won that midfield battle very easily because there was no midfield. And it's no surprise that players look hella confused, look very lost, no connections, no passing patterns. We look like a team of individuals. I think that was the wrong move by Tommy T at the point to force the agenda that much to bring on any and every attacking player. And we rightfully lost. Heads were gone. It was compounded by us conceding a third goal. And then after we concede the third goal, Tuchel moves back to a back three, this time with Koulibaly playing on the right hand side and Cucurella playing as a left centre back with Chilwell coming on. And by then, Koulibaly sent off and the game was done, dusted and over. And it kind of just felt to me like, you know, when you're playing FIFA and, you know, you're desperate to get back in the game and then you start doing craziness in the tactics slide. You know, I'm going to play, you know, 5 guys up front. I'm going to have like 3 in the back and you don't know what you're doing. You're just trying to make something happen. That's what the second half felt like. You know, the little bit of control we had, we lost. We gave it away for fun. And then we lost our heads, lost composure and got thoroughly outplayed and beaten by Leeds today. And it just gets you thinking, what do we do from here now? Because here's where I have to end by giving some perspective now. And we have to keep things real. If N'Golo Kante and Mateo Kovacic were playing today, we aren't losing this midfield battle. Let's get things absolutely correct here. We are not losing this midfield battle. So during unfortunate circumstances like this, it will force the manager maybe to have to rely upon or turn to certain players that maybe he wouldn't necessarily always do against opposition, because who are your options? You got no options left. I think it's quite interesting though that in times like this, instead of forcing the same formation with guys that aren't able to fully like adapt and play to the best of their ability in this formation, I think a 4-3-3 in hindsight could have been good. Ruben adding another option to help us combat Leeds in those central areas was key, man. Was very, very key. But we weren't able to do that in the end. And I think this is where Tuchel, in my opinion, needs to maybe adjust things a bit more to help with, you know, when things aren't going completely in our favour. But still, you know, I guess what do we do now? We see what happens during the final week now before this window ends. We got a lot more money to spend. I don't always think just spending money blindly just adds to results and just adds to improvements. As we saw today, we spent 100 mil on Koulibaly and Cucurella and they were terrible today, in my opinion. You know, Sterling, he looks a bit dangerous at times. You're hoping he hits the target a few more times. Look done and dusted. I just think for me, is there a conversation around maybe the way we're playing? Are more teams now starting to get more confidence behind our back three setup because they know how we play it and they're able to stop us a bit more? Because I think the thing that really stood out to me the most out of everything was how often were Leeds playing us offside? How often were Leeds United playing us offside? The confidence to play that way and maintain that, and they regularly took advantage. Reece James offside, you know, Sterling offside, Kai offside, everyone was offside. When you're seeing things like that, for me, that is like a tactical failure in that sense. So we weren't able to cope, man. But still, let's see what this week brings. But my friends, get out your house today. Do something today. Enjoy the sun, get them UV rays. You have to do something to try and get your mind off this game, because I'm very confused about what happens. We've been humbled today. Definitely humbled. And now we see how we react now, because that's the only thing we can do. So you guys, on that note, I'm the EFC. This is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys there with some more videos. Cool.